Hi, welcome to this week's weekly market update with Morton Brown Family Wealth. I'm Katie Brown and I have Cody Demmel here with me today. Hi, Cody.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good.
So, a couple of things that we want to talk about this week. First, we want to talk about what Americans are doing to prepare for the election coming up. We're only a few days away. And then, secondly, why stocks have been falling sharply this week. And then, thirdly, what to expect this holiday season. And so, why don't we kick it off to talk about what Americans are doing to prepare for the election coming up here shortly? I don't know about you, but I'm hearing, a lot of different opinions about what might happen, and some concerns, some not. People are preparing in all different ways. But we came across an article recently, and it was actually on Yahoo Finance, and it talked about a number of different things that people are doing. And we just found it interesting because it didn't matter what side individuals were on as far as whether or not they thought Trump was going to win, things that they're doing to prepare, or if Biden wins, things that they're doing to prepare. And it was pretty even across the board on either side. Almost 45% of Americans were doing something. So, Cody, why don't you share some of the things that you saw in the article?
I thought that was the point that stood out the most, that it didn't matter if you were voting for Trump or Biden, that around 45% of the Americans that they interviewed or surveyed were changing their finances strategy a little bit. Majority of them were either spending less or saving more, pretty much the same thing, however you look at it, which I think is a good thing, obviously, especially in the planning side of things. Only a small portion, around 10%, it was actually a little less than 10%, were going to be changing their investment strategy, which again, I thought was a good thing. I don't think we want to be changing just for what's going to happen next week, because I mean, it's obviously going to be a long 4 years, whoever wins. So we'll see.
You're right. You're right. It's not like we flip that switch and then all of a sudden everything changes. So we better be prepared. It doesn't
Yeah,
quite work
exactly.
that quickly. I think one of the things that really jumped out to me in the article is that a lot of the things that are being done are things that are just good behavioral finance. I mean, they're things that are just good to do as far as looking to make sure they had proper emergency reserves. Like you said, paying attention to what they're spending. And if they need to make adjustments, they can make adjustments. But even looking at some of those fixed costs, those like automated monthly expenses, those are just all good habits to build in your personal financial life. So I actually really appreciated the article, and from the standpoint of, it's, if this is going to encourage people to review what they have going on in their financial life and make sure things are in the right spot, then that's not a bad thing necessarily.
Yep, exactly. It's probably one of the only good things going on with everything else.
Speaking of, we're selling off pretty sharply here over the last couple of days. We've been watching it here at Morton Brown, but also kind of reading and trying to figure out a little bit where it's coming from and why it might be coming. And the reasons may be, partially expected, but not necessarily where everyone is expecting them to come from. What are some of the things that you've observed this week, Cody?
Well, today's Wednesday when we're doing this market update. So today is when we've had the largest sell-off, and I think it started in the European markets, just because everyone's starting to get more concerned about potential lockdowns that we've seen in Germany. And I think I actually just got a notification while we were doing this that France is thinking about doing another potential lockdown too. So people are concerned, obviously, with the pandemic and the uptick in cases that we've seen over the past week or two.
Yeah, yeah. So it is unfortunate. It does seem to be primarily pandemic driven, more so than election driven. I mean, being a week out from the election, you would expect some type of volatility, as there typically is, a little bit leading up to the presidential election. But these movements this week specifically really do seem to be more driven by the pandemic and concerns about another potential lockdown, what that might mean for the economy going forward, and probably some proactive rebalancing to prepare for what people think the other side of this is going to look like.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and as Cody said, this is Wednesday, October 28th, that we are recording this. So we'll see where we go from here. So something else that we came across, and maybe this is a little bit of a silver lining here going into the end of the year, but holiday shopping and how online shopping is expected to be pretty huge this year. We read an article in CNBC talking about how they are expecting a 33% increase in holiday shopping. So 2 years of growth, which is pretty dramatic. Cody, what were some things that you saw in that article?
Yeah, I thought that 2 years of growth packed into just this year, especially with the growth that we've had over the past couple of years on the online shopping. I think that is a pretty substantial amount, 33% growth from last year to almost $200 billion in online sales between November and December.
Yeah, I think they said they expected 18 days of $3 billion or more. Whereas last year, if you take out kind of the couple of days around, Black Friday, there were only 3 days of $3 billion or more in sales. So pretty huge. Yeah. And the amount of increase for small businesses is huge too. So they're expecting 100% increase for smaller businesses, which I'm thrilled about. I mean, the Small Business Saturday is something that has really taken off, but I think especially in this environment, people are feeling very community minded and concerned about the businesses around them and what they can do to help. So once again, I think that is a little bit of a silver lining as we start thinking about the holiday season. I mean, we're starting to see little decorations and things popping up here and there and advertisements. I'm seeing more and more of them. Oh, my kids are starting to get the Christmas catalogs already. We have a few marked up, which I'm trying to pipe them down a bit, but
Yeah, no, I think that is a really good point. That the increase especially in small businesses, is great to see, especially unfortunately with the pandemic it affecting in-person shopping. So it's great to see that the small businesses were able to adapt, and hopefully we'll have that growth this holiday season.
Yes, absolutely. So once again, a couple of things kind of catching our attention, and we know we're going into a busy week next week. There's a lot going on in the markets, a lot going on politically, a lot going on all around us. So we will look forward to catching up again next week and touching base. And if there is anything specific that any of you would like us to touch on, or any questions or concerns that you have, we're always happy to do so. Please feel free to reach out. And before we go, though, really quickly, Cody, is there anything fun that you've done recently this fall, taking advantage of the weather?
Last weekend, Courtney and I went to Bushkill Falls, which was nice. I think it was the last weekend they were open. So it was really nice with the fall colors and everything.
Yeah, I bet that was beautiful. I love those falls out there. We haven't been in a little while. We went camping this past weekend out by Lewis, Delaware, and surprisingly enough, we went down to the ocean and it was gorgeous. And my kids swam in the ocean for like 2 hours. Not anything I would have expected the end of October.
What was the temperature of the water? Do you know? It had to be still be cold.
It was chilly. I felt it. I did not swim, but they were fine. I mean, it wasn't like they ran in and said, "Okay, we have to go." Like they legitimately played in the water for about 2 hours. So, wow. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, thank you once again for joining us today. And as I mentioned, we'd love to hear from you. But in the meantime, have a great week. We will talk to you soon. Take care.